What is going down, everyone? Danny G in the house. Got some things to touch on. Gonna talk a lot about Andrew Luck retiring in this video. But first off, just gonna recap the Niners 27-17 win in Game 3 of the preseason. As not that it matters, but they started off 3-0. And the main story is that Jimmy Garoppoloo looked way better than he did in the Monday night Game 2 of the preseason in Denver. As in that game, he just looked disconnected, out of touch. Just nothing was going his way. However, the way people just overreacted to that is a little much, even though I did see where they were coming from, as he is being paid $137 million, which is ridiculous. But, Niners saw some good stuff with him in 2017, and they just decided to pull the trigger. You can't... Yeah, they paid him too much, and for too long as well. But, they have not had a quarterback in so long that, you just could see where they were coming from there. But, that being said, he needs to live up to that contract. And even though it's only preseason and he was coming off a torn ACL, Jimmy G did not produce in Denver. And when you don't produce, no matter if it's a preseason game in August or a game in any time frame of the regular season, when you don't produce, you're going to get backlash. And when Jimmy G did not produce in his first game, coming off the ACL in almost a year, and he just looked flat and didn't look like a quarterback worth what he's being paid for, people were going to question it. But yes, the whole idea of the fact that, that's exactly who he is as a quarterback was ridiculous, because you didn't get to see a whole lot of him. So, but, it goes both ways. But the bottom line is Jimmy G showed consistency and showed that he is still a good quarterback. And speaking of good quarterbacks, Nick Mullens, I thought, also showed how great of a young QB, how good of a smart QB he is. Now, I'm not going to say he's 100% perfect, because of course, just like any quarterback, he made some mistakes. But, you can just, see, his love for the game, and just by the way he plays. And, his arm is, I think, something special, too. I saw him throwing bullets to Kendrick Bourne. And, I've seen him, play. Of course, last year I paid a lot of attention, to the way he played and the way he was able to handle his pocket presence, make smart decisions with the ball, know when to throw it away. And even when he would throw interceptions, he would bounce back and, throw for over 100 yards and have a decent game. Of course, I went to the Giants game where he had a decent game after throwing an interception. So, it's just... I want to see him be the main backup to back up Jimmy G, if anything happens. I know Kyle Shanahan drafted C.J. Beathard and he's high on him, but, C.J. Beathard he's looked a tad bit better, I guess, in the preseason, but, he's still just not that good a quarterback. He had a few good games, last year. That Packer game, he almost won that game, but, besides that, he just has not shown much. So, I think they should... maybe try to, cut him, trade him, to when they got to make this 53-man roster. But what I think is that Nick Mullens, needs to be the main backup for Jimmy G. If anything happens, I would actually honestly feel confident, with them still winning at least 8 games with Nick Mullens, at the helm. Not that I don't think anything will happen to Jimmy G again. I think he's been able to, was playing in the scene of the crime last year where it all happened, where he tore that ACL, on that running play where he didn't go out of bounds at the time. He tried to make, a really good play that would have gotten the Niners back in that game, but, it just did not. He should have just gone out of bounds at the time, and he didn't. And, here he is almost a year later in the same stadium, proving that, he still has, when he started to look better at the end of that game, he showed that he still had it in him to actually produce. So, happy about that. Looking forward to this season. And now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about Andrew Luck retiring from the NFL at 29. And I'll just say that, I'm a Stanford fan. I was born at Stanford. I lived in Palo Alto before I moved to Arizona, and I'm not a huge college fan though. I haven't been able to really been in touch with Stanford as of late, or really much of the NC2A. It's a lot. I'm a little busy. So it's a lot to follow. But at the time Andrew Luck played, I did follow Stanford, a lot. I was a big Stanford fan. And I even saw, probably his best play when he played for Stanford in person, which I'll show at the end of this video. But I was a fan of the way he played the game and everything, and his accuracy. And when Stanford won that Orange Bowl in 2010, that was a special year. Uh, 2011 as well. And everyone thought he was going to go into the draft in 2011. So I remember even with the Niners that year, the big thing was suck for Luck. Try to get the number 1 pick, get Andrew Luck, which of course. I was really hoping the Niners would get him back then, because based on how good he was. Of course, he played under Jim Harbaugh. Andrew Luck was a great quarterback. He played the game well. He made smart decisions. And speaking of that, he made a smart decision by retiring, I think, because he's had so many injuries. He's had so many calf strains. So many high ankle sprains, and of course he had a lower leg injury the previous week in the preseason, and was playing hurt. Or well, he didn't play in this preseason game, but if he were to start the season, he'd be playing a little hurt, and just so it was the right decision to do it. He's made enough money. I honestly think that his timing should have been better, but he did not. I honestly think he would have been the quarterback for the Colts this season if he didn't have that injury in the preseason. If he would have had the injury at the end of the season, I guarantee you he would have pulled through, and especially if the Colts were making a playoff run, then he would have retired at the end of the season. But and the thing I got to touch to, that it was just disgusting to see the Colts fans boo Andrew Luck when he was coming out. Of course, it wasn't announced there, but of course everyone has a smartphone. They saw Adam Schefter break the news on Twitter. From what I heard, he was originally planning to announce the news today, but that was just classless, just disgusting. I can see where they were coming from a football standpoint, as to why they were angry, but not as to why they booed, because that is just not right, and it just showed that they just had no lack of respect for who Andrew Luck was as a human being, which was just disgusting to see. But it is what it is. I'm sure there were a lot of Colts fans also, who did not feel that way at all. Especially because of what Andrew Luck has done for the Indianapolis Colts as a franchise. He has been their best quarterback since Peyton Manning, and it would be almost equivalent. Yes, I know he didn't win the many Super Bowls, but still, So no, I don't think they would have booed Peyton Manning, but it's a little bit equivalent to that. I'll just say it's based on how good of a quarterback Andrew Luck was, for that organization, putting his heart and soul out there, putting his whole body on the line for them. It was sad to see, but I give Andrew Luck the most respect and credit that he could for making what was a smart decision, and best of luck with him in his life. And Niners, I have confidence in them this year. I don't know for sure if they'll win more than 8 games, but the goal is to at least get to 8-8 and at least have a better year. So the division's gonna be tough. We got the Cardinals have Kyler Murray now, and they actually got Michael Crabtree. I don't see a whole lot of hopes for them, but they could have a decent year. The Seahawks always kind of in it, with Russell Wilson. Of course, the Rams were in the Super Bowl last year, so it's a tough division. They got a tough schedule, but if they just keep playing well, they can make this division race interesting. And that's all I got. Danny G is out. Peace.